Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, one of the better first 36 minutes of the Suns season ends with one of the worst 12 minutes of the Suns season in Washington. Yes, they got the W, but there's much more to this one. Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a Credential Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen post-game on a Thursday after a win. Don't forget, Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Joining me, well, first I should say, today's episode is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting, and right now new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Live in living color from the Wild West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling on this Thursday night, Ben Garcia?
I was feeling really good about 15, 20 minutes ago. And then, the fourth quarter, during that game, I was kind of not paying attention in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. Because at that point, I'm thinking about different takes. Like, oh man, is this the most complete game the Suns have played? And I look up and I have to put the phone down because they nearly lose that game. And I would go as so far to say if George hits that free throw, I think the Wizards win. So that's kind of where I would go with that.
We will zoom out and give our big lessons from this one as always, and we'll definitely have to talk about Ryan Dunn to close out the show. But first, our moment of the game. And we're just going to focus on the fourth quarter for this one because that is where things went a little bit haywire, and the Suns were up basically 20 heading in. They only win by 7. I think that basically speaks for itself. Numerous turnovers. I don't even feel like I should break it down any more off the top than that, Ben. It felt like a fourth quarter that we saw played out 50 times last year, 40 times last year. It felt like the 2023-24 Frank Vogel Suns all over again. I
am not for... You and I are both clearly on this idea that, and a couple other people, that you're not blowing it up right now. It would be stupid to do so because you're not going to get as much back as you likely would in the offseason. If they would have lost that game, I was seriously going to be like, I'm just in blow it up mode. I'm just so sick and tired of watching this. Even if they don't even get, which it wouldn't make a lot of sense, I would have pulled off of that. But the emotional aspect of me would have been like, I'm so over it. There needs to be some sort of leadership or culture that you can lean on in the fourth quarter. I was actually livid with Budenholzer and I was obviously wrong, because I was like, why is KD and Devin Booker in this game? You've been using them because you've had to. I'm not blaming him because you've literally had to use them. Yeah. But I was like, why are they in the game? And then let it be told, I mean, he only played 33 minutes tonight, but Booker still played nearly 40. So just not sustainable, man. That is not sustainable basketball. And the breakdown that happened against a team that, doesn't even have one, they don't have one player that would be a 3 on a championship team. That's how bad that team is. So it went from being what I thought was the most complete game, and narratives like, are they just better without Beal? Things like that were populating my mind to what was the worst one of the season. Cool, they won, but my goodness, man. This was worse than the Hornets loss, because the Hornets won because they came back in that game. This one they almost blew. What was your thought?
Yeah, they went on numerous different runs, and throughout the game, really, even I think at the end of the second quarter there was one, and in the fourth quarter, they go on a 7-0 run right away. That kind of makes things interesting. I think that becomes part of a bigger overall kind of quarter-long type of run. But, I mean, here's the thing is like, it just felt like the Suns, from the Suns side of it, because Washington, like, they have nothing to lose. This is exactly what you would expect the young team to do. We watched it when it was, freaking Josh Jackson out there or whatever. Like, we know what this is like when you're just, any competitive game is great. Young guys are just sort of learning, and these are the types of things that you have to watch out for. So obviously I'm less focused on the specifics of, Washington was doing this or that. The Suns gave this lead up, obviously, much more than Washington earned it. And so it just felt like a level of going through the motions that I guess even, I don't know, like, tell me if I'm wrong, but it felt, one way it felt different than last year is last year it felt like a lot of the time they didn't have a plan. Different guys were trying to have the ball. They didn't really have a very organized offense once plan A fizzled out. And so that seemed to be kind of the problem, right? Like, then you throw in the rebounding problems and some of the other stuff, and that was how things got out of hand a lot of the time last year. In this case, it just felt like they took their foot off the gas, and it felt like they were making boneheaded plays. Some of the turnovers that Booker had in particular, I just thought were ridiculous. And that's crazy to me to see from a team that needs every win so badly. I get that it's the Wizards, but how do you even allow that mental focus to switch off for even one quarter when the season is in the balance like this? That's what's crazy to me about it.
What you are trying to say, and you did say it, but I think this would be a different way to put it, is you're not that good. Like, there's that idea of, you're not that guy, pal. Like the Suns, you're not that guy. You have to be able to show up to every game like it's your last. Every game you had just mentioned means so much to this team. You have already lost multiple games, not just like a singular one. The Pistons and the Hornets come to mind, like, right away. I don't feel like I had that last year. The only two games I remember last year that the Suns lost that were big were the San Antonio Spurs games early in the season. This year, I feel like I could rattle off a couple of games where I'm like, what are we doing? The Heat game from weeks ago, or the two I just mentioned a second ago. Like, those things cannot happen, Brendon. And I don't know. At some point, we do need to have a conversation. And I know it makes everyone feel uncomfortable because it often just goes like you're going right at Kevin Durant. But this team has a mental issue, a mental block. Culturally, they are broken. Leadership-wise, they are broken. And that is not just Kevin Durant. Not at all. That is Devin Booker. That is Tyus Jones, who I thought was going to help level this out. That is Nurkic, who last year I thought was a kind of a good leader. I mean, it's not the coach, man. I've never felt more like we scapegoated a coach in Arizona history than last year.
I know.
Because, I mean, I like Bud, and I do think he's putting them in the best positions. But Vogel clearly wasn't even close to the problem like I thought.
Well, you mentioned Tyus, and that's the other aspect of this that I think is like the contrast that I was kind of getting at, where a lot of the time last season, if you and I, or, obviously it was me solo back then, like, would sit down and talk about a game, it would be like, man, if they just had a point guard, right? Like, that became the go-to point to make, and pun intended. And like that, that's literally not even a reason, let alone an excuse anymore, because not only do they have one, but they have two who both played decently tonight, although, Tyus had a turnover or two in that fourth quarter and, wasn't great from the field. But, they both, like, the team was a plus, I believe, when Tyus was out there, but yet in the fourth quarter, that was the exact opposite of true. He was out there for that big run in Washington's favor. And so that is, I think, what is extra frustrating. And I know it sounds like we're being negative despite a win, but I guess the bow I would tie on this is to say that it's the Wizards. So the expectation, one, should be that you just take care of business and not allow it to even get close. But two, like, I think it's reasonable. We can have the standard right now of they just need to get back into the win column. But also, big picture, this team still thinks of itself when you hear them linked to Jimmy Butler or whatever else as much better than just a team scratching and clawing their way back to the 6th seed. And in that case, the standard should be blow the freaking Wizards out, sit Booker and Durant the whole fourth quarter. Like, that should be what's on the table against a team that you are so much more talented than. And it just wasn't the case at all. But I think our lessons of the game will be very much along the lines of what we did see during this fourth quarter, or why it came down to the wire the way that it did. So let's go there next. First, today's show brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you can enjoy the VIP treatment now, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive, and with Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate. Claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. All right, Ben, I'm passing it back to you for your lesson of the game. First, reminder to sign up for the Locked On Suns daily newsletter. It's right up there on YouTube if you haven't seen it before. Type Locked On Daily, then put your email address in. You get awesome Suns, NBA, and fantasy basketball content straight to your inbox for free, and it supports us quite a bit. What is your lesson from tonight's game, Ben?
I've been a pretty clear defender of Tyus Jones because I don't think it's his issue. I don't think he's the problem at all, but this team is just too small. In late crunch time situations where you would like a point guard to be out there, you just can't play him. Defensively, man, he just gets picked on. This has happened ever since the very first game of the season against the Clippers. I would, if Tyus was okay with it, seriously explored a trade for Tyus. He, like everyone else, is a misfit cast of players who don't fit together. And if you had a more jumbo-sized team or a more defensive-driven team, he would work.
Like Memphis.
But yeah, exactly. And he was good with Memphis. And last year was good. He was, pretty good with the Wizards. But it's just, it's not on Tyus. And I'm not putting any of the failures of the season on Tyus as a player. Leadership-wise, I feel like I expected more.
I think it's fair to put some of them right. I mean, the defense is really bad, and you're mentioning that he's a weak point. He's playing like 30 minutes a night. It's linked,
absolutely.
Right?
But I'm always just going to be harder on the superstars on this team for those things. But I would agree with you. It is a contributing factor. I'm not going to, blame the large portion of the Suns' failures this year on him, but I would seriously explore a trade for him. And I think his trade value is pretty minimal, but maybe you could use that to ship him off. And, if you have to add 2 seconds for Reith or whatever, someone down the line, I don't know, but he doesn't fit here, especially defensively. He's a sore thumb on what is a really swollen defensive knuckle. So that was kind of what I took from this game. Is I think I'm ready to move on from Tyus, not because of him. It's not like Nurkic, he's bad and he doesn't fit. I think he's actually a pretty good player, but he just doesn't fit really well here, which kind of goes back to both of our points, which you had mentioned before. Point guard was never the issue with this team. It was never the issue. It was never the main issue.
I just busted open this stress ball while you were talking. It's actually pretty gross, so I'm not even going to show it. There's like some kind of like gunk in there. It's like,
do you use a stress ball on the daily?
No, I just
you out that
I think I had one like in maybe like a little Christmas gift I got or something. So I just saw it while you were talking and I just grabbed it absentmindedly, and then I like felt something on my hands. I'm like, what is going on? I guess I am frustrated about the Tyus conversation, just gripping that thing.
What's your lesson?
Well, I wanted to add on the Tyus part, which is to say that you and I'm not saying this to like corner you or anything, but you've flipped your script on him pretty considerably. So it sounds like like you mentioned, the defense conversation we had like opening week of the season where we were like, teams are going to pick on him and they're going to have to make up for that. And how they make up for it is going to be interesting. It sounds like his lack of offense is really what might have changed your mind, because that's the part that's, I think, started to go away. That's maybe making it even less like tenable for him to be out there.
I didn't think that they would just, and I still think he could be a viable third scorer for this team if they were a little bit better defensively. The issue is it feels like, and you know this too, I'm kind of just regurgitating the same thing. Is first off, it's two different teams than it was 2 months ago. They're just not the same team that they were. But also they just have gone away from him. He's like a dummy on this team. Just so, like you had said this a couple of weeks ago, like, hey, we have a point guard. We don't really run anything through him. In fact, most of the time it's through KD or Booker, and that's where a lot of our turnovers come from. And there's just never any flow of the offense. I don't understand why they don't run it through him more. And so when you don't do that defensively, he's exposed.
That's exactly actually why I was never all the way there like you were as far as his offensive abilities, because the problem is when he does have the ball is actually, I think, when he's worst at scoring, because he can't create his own shot because he's 6 feet tall and can't get to the rim, and he's not like a pull-up three-point shooter. So,
but we don't need him to. What I'm saying is you don't use him enough to set up the offenses.
But then he's not a scorer at all, and you're saying you like him as a scorer. Like, I'm just saying that when you kind of try to look at it from every angle, he's not quite good enough at any of these things in order to, justify being out there on the court when you know that, the defense in particular is going to be this big weak point. I would also say one of the hypotheses that I've been trying to like think about while I'm watching the past few weeks while he's been struggling, because I mean, it's not just tonight. He was 3 of 5 in the last game, 1 of 5 before that, 0 of 4. He had a decent game against Atlanta, but he was 2 of 6, 2 of 7, 3 of 11, 1 of 5. Like, it's been a while. I think that part of it is when he is in the open court is when he's at his best. And for whatever reason, that whole idea we all had preseason that he would be an ingredient toward getting the Suns to play faster, that just never happened. And so he's in a lot of these half-court situations where he's playing against a set defense, and when he's undersized the way that he is, you're just working at a real deficiency to ask a dude to drive into the teeth of a set defense with, multiple big dudes in the way of him in the basket and expect anything good to happen. Even if he is looking to pass first, he's just not going to break down the defense if it's so slow and ground down. But my lesson of the game is it's kind of a question, and I think it goes along with what you're saying here about the point guard, so I'm glad you went there, which is when I thought they were going to win decisively, my lesson was going to be that the past couple games have been a reminder of just how well Book and KD fit together. Like, I think that's, they went for 60-plus again tonight and everything else, but it's hard for me to fully say that when, we have another fourth quarter where KD's not super involved as a scorer, and we have another fourth quarter where Book is coughing up the basketball, and he has almost as many turnovers as assists. I can't come out here and try to tell you they're a great fit after what we just saw, so I guess it kind of speaks to the roller coaster ride of this game, but I do feel like, to be a little bit positive, we have seen those two guys play really well off of each other the past few games, not just in the numbers they're putting up, but the flow and the balance of it too.
You ready to have a conversation that's going to piss off Kevin Durant fans? I'm ready. I want to ask you this question. You said something in there in the fourth quarter where he's kind of not involved. And again, a lot of that's on Coach Bud. A lot of that's on the players. But at what point, if you're Kevin Durant and you do talk like a guy who knows he's one of the best players ever, and I think he's a top 10 player of all time, do you just go fire and brimstone and demand the basketball? Like, there is sort of an alpha mentality you got to have to, in those moments, just be like, yeah, give me the ball. This is stupid. I'm going to take over. At what point do we kind of question that about Kevin?
what would that look like? What would his go-to kind of, imagining a world where like the mentality part of it that you're talking about shows up? What does the basketball effect of that look like? What does he do to take over? What does it look like to you?
Get to his spots. Get to the rim. Listen, there's no one on that
That's not his
team.
spot. That's kind of why I ask it, is like, I don't think he is LeBron James in, Miami or like, Ant in the playoffs last year, or Jokic in the post, where it's just like, give him the ball, he's getting where he wants to go, and he's scoring, and there's nothing you can do about it. I don't think that's what 35-year-old Kevin Durant is, and I honestly don't know how realistic it even is to ask that of him, even if I get you on a mentality standpoint.
Okay, then if that's the case, I mean, you just don't. If you don't think that Kevin Durant can still do that, and I think it's fair because he's 36 years old.
Yeah, I don't think Steph can do that. I don't think LeBron can do that. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's an honest. I mean, I see Warriors fans having this conversation about Steph all the time, which is that it's
Steph's
unreasonable
a little different, though,
to ask that of him. Well, his spot would be like a pull-up three or something. And
he's also
so it's
little.
All different.
Like that, it's going to be hard
but
for you.
He's always been little. He's never gotten
no.
But he can't
even
do Steph stuff anymore. Or
yeah,
LeBron
but he was
can't
in his
do
athletic
LeBron stuff anymore.
He was in his athletic prime before. I mean, I kind of disagree about the LeBron thing. I still think in spurts he can get to his spots and get to the rim.
And maybe KD can in spurts too.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And in spurts, and maybe a part of it is he's just playing 45 minutes a night and he's too tired. And I think that's a even better argument to that. But I would just like Kevin Durant to take more shots when it matters most. And even though Devin Booker was good tonight, and I think the silver lining in this is a couple of days ago I tweeted, one of the reasons why the Suns haven't been as good and have disappointed was because Devin Booker has not played like a star all season. And then ever since that tweet, he must have read it. He's been awesome. And I understand he's been good, but like, I just want to see the best pure shot maker and still with the most impossible shot to block in the NBA, get to his spots, but maybe he just can't do it. Maybe he's 45 years old. And I
don't think it's that he can't do it, but I just think like the spots that we have seen him be the best at this year are like those extended post up, those ISOs, kind of stuff where he's attacking a defense that's kind of he has a mismatch, or they're kind of a step late to rotate, or maybe they're having to come double him and then he's going from there. I think that this team has, I wouldn't even say one player. They only have one player who has a chance to break down the defense with the ball in his hands from the perimeter. It's Devin Booker. He doesn't do that often enough, so I'm not patting him on the back and trying to sit here and tell you that he's some kind of elite guy at that, but he's the only one who has a chance to do it. And so that's, I think, part of like this whole elephant in the room of the fit questions with this team is KD needs to be set up, but the main guy who's going to break down the defense in order to set him up is also more of a score-first guy also, right? Or at least wants to score at the same time. And so I think that that's a big part of it. So I was kind of asking you questions to more ask them of the audience there, because I wonder what it would even look like if we say KD needs to, assert himself. Well, what? How? What would that do, So I think that's all part of it. All right, let's break down Ryan Dunn's career night to close things out with a rookie watch next. First, today's show brought to you by Skims. I'll tell you, when we all found out on the Locked On Podcast Network that Skims was going to be a sponsor, we were all kind of like, wait a second. Who are we supposed to be telling about Skims? I mean, yeah, there's some ladies in the audience, but a lot of the guys who listen, what are they even going to buy? Well, Skims has men's underwear. There you go. If you didn't know before, now you know. A lot of us have had issues with finding the right underwear because we want different things for different times, but also you want something that you're going to know is quality and know actually fits. So you're not replacing it all the time or, getting uncomfortable or any of that. Skims offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. They are very soft, but also form-fitting. So they're kind of, They fit you well, but it doesn't feel like, oh, this is uncomfortable. This is, all up in me, whatever. It is perfect for working out. It is perfect for running errands. It is perfect for whatever you need, and the lightweight material feels like you're wearing almost nothing at all. So shop Skims men's at skims.com/LockedOnNBA and Skims stores. I believe there's one at Scottsdale Fashion. Let them know we sent you by selecting podcast in the survey. When you make your purchase, select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Today's show also brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win that first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going straight to your account. Tons of bets over at FanDuel. I always recommend, if you're wanting a easier win on the NFL side, to get that $300 in bonus bets, that, you know, the anytime touchdown scorers, you can go big minus odds there. Hey, like Lamar Jackson, probably going to score either a passing or a rushing touchdown, but you can poke around there. What I like to do to get that first W out of the way and get my bonus bet is go to the world of college basketball, where Ohio State is minus 295 against a completely collapsing Indiana program on Friday night. So get that going and then enjoy the weekend of football from there, all at FanDuel.com. All right, Ben, let's close it out. Rookie watch here. End on a positive note. Ryan Dunn, career high 18 points, first ever NBA double-double with 18 and 11. I think this was the Ryan Dunn game that I was most impressed with all season. Easy to say with the career highs, but he was everywhere tonight.
I don't even know what more I can say about Dunn. I wish he would get a little bit better shooting the ball from the perimeter, but everything he's been this year has been as advertised or better. And for a guy that was picked late in the first round, you know, he has the potential. Like, let's just say the Suns blow it up. They flame out or they miss the playoffs altogether. You're not trading Devin Booker. You move off from Kevin Durant. You're sticking around.
I've heard the Rockets like him.
Well, listen, I also, per my sources, and I do have these sourced, and they would tell you that it's true, the Suns are also fans of Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I hear they like LeBron, maybe even his son Bronny. So they can like whoever they want. It's not going to do anything. But Ryan Dunn, if they do like ship off Kevin Durant in the offseason and they get a bunch of picks for him, or they get a player or two and a bunch of picks, and it's Booker, it's Beal, it's, I don't know, maybe Jones is still around. Ryan Dunn does have the potential to be an all-star player. As long as he can figure out the shot, he has the potential to make this rebuild that could be pending very soon here go a lot quicker. Because then you have Devin Booker at 29 and Dunn at, I think he's 23. He's a little bit older, 22, 23. A rising star, and Booker's still got 4 more prime years left. You let it go a year or two. You're able to move off of Beal and off of an expiring contract and still be competitive. He is the one shining light of all of this nonsense outside of Oso, who's been good too, but I don't see star potential in him. Dunn looks like he's having the shades of Devin Booker in his rookie year, where you're like, oh, is that going to blossom, or is he going to stay just like a really good role player? So a silver lining for Suns fans who are waiting on a pending rebuild. So I think that's something good to have in the back of your brain.
For sure. And what makes you a star in basketball is if you can score the ball, if you can create your own shot. And tonight was a good step in that direction. Ryan Dunn had a one crossover where he basically ran a pick and roll and got all the way to the basket. That was, pretty exciting if you are thinking about where his development can take him. He's been on a hot streak with the jumper, and his activity level, I think activity level is almost too simple of a way to put it, right? Like, I think that he's meshing the activity and the energy and the hustle with, I think, the experience and the IQ, where he's able to kind of channel the activity toward where it's supposed to be going. He knows when to crash the offensive glass. He knows what defensive moments he can be more aggressive in versus others. He knows, times where if he hasn't shot in a while, he's less hesitant to, like, he tried that dunk. And yes, he missed it, but that speaks to, I think, like, he just is picking his spots and kind of understanding the game flow a little better. And I think that's one of the things that just comes with starting him. Is he just getting these minutes and he's getting the confidence with the other best players on this team, and I think just second guessing himself a lot less. But since we're just trying to, be positive here, and they did win the game, and Dunn did have this career night, this is something I've just been curious, thinking in my own head for a while, and I wonder where you stand on it. I don't know the best way to ask the question, but how surprised would you be if Dunn had a better NBA career than Mikal Bridges?
Man, that's a really good question, because I've been on Dunn for a long time, so I want to say not surprised, but that is diminishing what Mikal Bridges has done in his career, which has never missed a game, been a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year, very good number 3. But I think right now, I think Mikal is either a really good 3 or a really good 4 or a lesser than 3 on a championship winning team. I think Ryan Dunn right now, from what I've seen, has the potential to be a 2. His wingspan and his ability, he has the physical makespan of a 1.
He has to,
but you gotta
substantially better as a scorer to get.
That's exactly what I was going to. It's exactly what I was going to. Is he has the physical stature to be a 1, but he is so far away from being I don't even want to say pure, more polished offensive scorer. Before we can have a 1 conversation, but just potential alone, I think you see a 2. I don't know if we ever saw 2 potential from Mikal, because he was also older coming into this team. What about you? I'd be curious to know your
the age is funny, because I think Dunn's 5 months younger than Bridges.
Is he?
It's all said and done. Because it's weird, because Dunn was a junior and Mikal was a senior, but Dunn was just an older guy. But yeah, 6 months is not nothing. It's just, I think people are like, and he was a year young, but he wasn't. I would say, I don't know about.
That's a hard question, man. It's a really good question.
I think he can and likely will be a better defender than Mikal. I think Mikal, the train got away from the station is the better metaphor. We're he's overrated as a defender now. And I think Knicks fans and Nets fans saw that. He never should have been second in Defensive Player of the Year. I'm sorry. His jersey's literally hanging behind me. I love the dude. He was not the second best defender in the NBA, and never was. But Dunn, because of the little bit of extra height and a lot of extra athleticism, his team defense is going to be able to be where Mikal's never was, where rim protection, just blowing stuff up, rotating to help off the ball. Mikal, that's just not a part of his game. He can get in passing lanes and get steals like that, but we never saw Mikal come from the weak side and swat a ball into the stands or anything. Ryan Dunn has that. He can play center in some lineups. He can switch on to big dudes. He can guard Luka probably better than Mikal could, as we saw time and again. So that's gonna be the bread and butter that gets him there.
Luka bullied Mikal. Bullied him.
Yeah.
He was kind of frail. He's a slimmer guy, not a smaller
exactly.
guy.
So whether Luka or even a Tatum or a Brown type guy or any of those bruisers, I think Dunn's gonna have a better chance against. Dunn, to me, I think he offensively, we'll see. I think Mikal is more advanced at this age than he is, but that also was kind of a late blooming thing for Mikal, and I think that's how it is for a lot of wings. I actually think Jaylen Brown's development's kind of the one you should be watching with Dunn, because I think they're somewhat similar. So we'll see. But this was an awesome game, and I never expected that he'd be starting and should have starting, and we would think he should be this soon into the season, and that he'd be making this big of an impact. So awesome night. There's your rookie watch. Hit follow, subscribe if you haven't already. That will do it for the week. We'll be back on Monday with recaps of the Suns Pistons game on Saturday and much more as we make our way through this road trip, and hopefully more reinforcements coming. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you then.